listening to Coffee and Conversation with Recovery Advocate Network, the nonprofit organization that strives to address the staggering disparity in resource availability for individuals suffering from mental health disorders, processing disorders, addictions, trauma healing, and sexual identity challenges. Together, we strive to end the stigma associated with these challenges so that true healing can begin. Welcome back to Coffee and Conversations Between the Lines Blog Club series. This is episode number 42, where I, Ange, will read another blog post from Shayne on invisible disabilities. Now, as a reminder, Between the Lines episodes are written by guests who prefer to use their written voice instead of their interview voice to share their stories. As a reminder, the views expressed in any blog are the views of the author, and the purpose is to provide a safe place for the author's voice to be heard. So, what are we waiting for? Fill up your coffee, sit back, and let's get started. Have you ever seen someone get out of a car that's parked in a handicapped parking spot and thought to yourself, well, they don't look handicapped? I'll admit it, in the past, I would have thought this too, but all disabilities are not visible. Hi, it's me, Shayne, and that's what I want to share with you today. Not all disabilities are visible. I gave you the main point right at the beginning, so you could stop listening now, but I hope you don't. You see, I'm just one person, but I have learned things over the years about having an invisible disability from my own experience. I want to be clear that I don't speak for everyone with a disability, be it visible or invisible. I only speak from my own experience and perspective. The range of disabilities in human beings is wide. There are many types and various causes: intellectual, developmental, learning, behavioral, psychiatric, hereditary, and so many, many more. And within those categories, each individual has different symptoms, different challenges, and/or different severities. If you saw someone who didn't look disabled using services designated for helping those with disabilities and were enraged, surprised, hateful, curious, or indignant, it might be helpful to understand about visible and invisible disabilities. You see, a visible disability is what you might automatically picture when you think of the term disability. Maybe you would think of a human being who is vision impaired or a human being who requires a wheelchair for mobility. These individuals have visible disabilities, a disability that can be seen. The concept of an invisible disability might be new to you. It was new to me not too long ago as well. An example I might use to explain to you is one that I read somewhere when I first heard the term. It's the picture of a house that looks brand new. Maybe a new coat of paint on the walls, new grass on the lawn, and a nice TV. Okay, the problem is there's a water leak that you can't see under the paint. Or there's a family of moles that have taken up residence in the yard and regularly dig up the grass. Or the electrical is wired so you can't use the air conditioning and the television at the same time. Invisible disability is like this. An individual might not look like they have a disability, but you can't always see the challenges they face. I have an invisible disability. I actually have multiple challenges that can be considered disabilities. I've been diagnosed with diabetes, chronic pain, and multiple mental health diagnoses. My symptoms aren't always apparent. If you met me on the street, you probably wouldn't know I'm disabled. My hypervigilance, anxiety, fear, nightmares, etc. from PTSD might not be obvious. My need for insulin and other medications and treatments for diabetes are private. My pain comes and goes. It flares up and I can't get out of bed. It eases and I can be productive. I won't attempt to list all of the conditions that can be an invisible disability or all the symptoms and struggles that can be hidden from the naked eye. To those who face challenges of an invisible disability, my heart feels for you, my friend and fellow traveler. We all need to remember this. My disability is invisible. That doesn't make it imaginary. Just because our disabilities might not be able to be seen by others doesn't make it something we made up Your symptoms are real. Your pain is real. This is hard. I know from experience that struggling with an invisible disability can induce imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Often, I struggle with doubts about whether my condition should count as a disability. I think to myself, there are people who have it so much worse. Am I exaggerating my symptoms? Am I using my struggles for attention or as an excuse? I have to remind myself, as I want to remind you, having an invisible disability does not mean invalid disability. Your pain is real. Your struggle is real. Your symptoms are not less valid or real because they come and go or because they are mental health related. Your disability being invisible does not disqualify you from asking for the services you deserve to live a full life. I've often struggled with accepting help for my challenges. When I first qualified for free mental health treatment, I felt guilty. When I first applied and was accepted for disability payments, I felt guilty. I have friends and loved ones who've been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, dyslexia, ADHD, and other conditions that make school difficult. They have told me that they feel guilty or ashamed or embarrassed or self-hate because of the assistance they receive at school. But we all need to remember that everyone deserves the support they need to take care of themselves and to live a full life. Everyone with an invisible disability deserves support. Everyone with a visible disability deserves support. Everyone with a chronic illness deserves support. Everyone with a mental illness deserves support. But it's true. Finding and getting help is hard for anyone with a disability. Having an invisible disability can make it extra hard to get the services you need. Because our symptoms are sporadic or underneath the surface, it can be a horrific process to get the services we need. Doctors might not believe us about the seriousness of our symptoms. Governmental agencies might not recognize our disability as worthy of aid. Family members and loved ones might tell us to just get it together or stop exaggerating. It can be exhausting. When I'm depressed or exhausted from not sleeping or in a flare-up of pain, I do not have extra energy for extra effort to fight for help. It can be frustrating. Trying to jump through the right hoops, it can be confusing. When my brain is foggy and my anxiety is out of control, I don't have the mental clarity to keep everything in order. It can be embarrassing. Having to outline and rehash how your daily life is affected by your condition, it can be upsetting. Talking about the trauma that caused my PTSD over and over again, talking about my weight, talking about my personal life, it's re-traumatizing. The struggle is real. I think the next thing I have to say is, disabled people are the only experts on disability. This part is for everyone. For those with disabilities, for doctors, for caseworkers, for therapists, for friends, for family members, and for society. To my friends who are living with an invisible disability, I believe you. If you're struggling, you're struggling. Don't give up on finding the support you need, the support you deserve. You are the expert on your life. You know the challenges you are facing. Fight for yourself. If you can't fight for yourself, find someone who will fight with or for you. To the professional listening, you have a hard job. I recognize that. You see a lot of patients, you deal with a lot of red tape, but you too can choose to fight for those with disabilities, whether visible or invisible. One of the most frustrating parts of my fight for assistance in discovering and dealing with my disability was the doctors just wanted to give me a pill for one symptom and send me on my way. Doctors, be bold. Dig deeper. Fight for your patient. Insurance companies, oh, don't even get me started on you. Family members and friends and society, I'll give you this thought. Treat people like human beings. You want to know how you should treat a person with an invisible disability? You want to know how you should treat a person with a visible disability? Treat everyone like the valuable, worthy, precious soul that they are. Because disabled or not, we are all human beings. Thank you for joining us today with your coffee and conversation. We hope you've been encouraged and learned something from today's story. To learn more about today's guest, please check out our show notes for more details. Now it's time to remember to like this episode, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. Recovery Advocate Network envisions a world where individuals with mental health challenges receive comprehensive and effective treatment without the worry of financial burdens to themselves or their families, all without the stigmas often present in society. We are proud that every individual worked with RAN does so on a 100% volunteer basis. You can support the mission by making a financial donation via PayPal or Venmo, or email donate@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org if you would like to donate items for our next fundraising auction. Please visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org to learn more. Now, stay in the loop about upcoming events, future episodes, and more by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and all major podcast platforms. As a reminder, the experiences and advice expressed in this episode are the host and guest's own personal stories and do not represent the opinions of any organization mentioned. RAN is passionate about opening the doors for all voices and experiences, not just those expressed in any particular podcast. If you want to share your experiences or expertise, we encourage you to be a future guest by emailing us at podcast@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org or submit a blog by emailing blog@recoveryadvocatenetwork.org. We also encourage you to comment on the episode so that we can continue to provide content that is most beneficial to the community. How do you do that? Visit our website at www.recoveryadvocatenetwork.org, and in the top right corner, click that comment button and comment. So listeners, what do you need to do? Pause what you're doing, subscribe, follow us. Please give us a like and a 5-star rating, write some meaningful comments, and most importantly, share these episodes with your friends. You never know whose heart you will touch, so please be a part of a reason someone has new hope today. If this episode was triggering to you, we encourage you to contact your support system, therapist, national and community support groups, the Global Crisis Text Line by texting 741-741, and or if in the U.S., dialing 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you're in the U.S. and need additional resources such as shelter, support group resources, transportation, food, and or a safe, confidential path out of physical or emotional domestic abuse, please call 211 or visit www.211info.org for assistance. Now, we know you are very busy, and we are grateful that you said yes to sharing time with us today. If you stuck to our 3 C's of engagement and listened to the full episode, then visit the podcast section of our website and leave the comment about the podcast, and you'll be entered to win an autographed copy of one of the books from one of our book club series, as well as a Coffee and Conversation coffee mug. So thanks again. Until next time, back to your coffee.